So when you split the dew, you get a salt, which is the earth, and then you get your magic water, which is the water, and then you fold them back together through fire. And this is the four elements, and this is if you look at the tree of life, you see that Kether, which is the dew, splits into two segments, and then it comes down into Tiphereth, and it creates a square or a container, and then out of this square or container surrounding Tiphereth, which is the fire where you're cooking it, it then dribbles down into two separate places until it gets to finally down into Yesod, where it's recombined, and then it falls down into Malkut, which is the foundation, which is your philosopher's stone. So you can see that the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah are complete renditions of the entire science. The cross of Hende is the same thing. You have the pillar at the top, and that's the dew that separates down, and then it falls into the cube with the emblems around it, the moon and the star and the four A's. This is your crucible where you're cooking your magic water. And once you understand it, you can read alchemy books, which are, by the way, free on Google books. I was reading one right before you guys called on Google that was just a mind blower, and it was free. This is free. The books that were, you would have to murder people for 300 years ago to get are now free on the internet. So the Kali Yuga has given us a great thing. It's given us the freedom to look at this, the freedom to discuss it without the church and the state doing anything. And if you think about it, we can transform the world into the golden age with this if we just do it in an unselfish way.
I was trying to figure out some practical ways to capture dew, and Cliff mentioned a method of collecting dew and water from the environment. I think it was on a Veritas show. He called it a dew well or a dew pond. That can be found on rexresearch.com. Basically involves building a saucer-shaped pond built on straw and limed clay. The construction technique thermally isolates the water from the ground, and perhaps it isolates it electrically or etherically as well. I wonder if this could work for large-scale collection while not violating the don't touch the ground rule. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's the kind of thinking that you need to do. I can only tell you what it is. You have to do it, and you have to live a holy life while you're doing it. And it's a long process. It's a 1.5 year long meditation, and you have to devote yourself to it. And if you're not willing to do it, then there's no point in it. That's why it can't be sold. And, roses collect dew. That's why roses are holy. Because, you go to a rose farm, and, you can collect in the morning, you can collect, 4 roses will give you an ounce of dew, if you get my meaning. And that's why roses are sacred to alchemists, because they would have these huge rose gardens, and they would shape the roses, and also the rose has a special fragrance which gives the philosopher's stone an incredible perfume kind of smell. And so there's a million ways to do this, and you begin looking into it, you'll begin figuring it out. Some ways are really more powerful than others. You can find flowers growing in trees, for instance. Sometimes trees in very moist places, like in the Olympics, will get so much moss on them that there'll be a burst of sun in August, and these flowers will burst way up high in the trees. Now, if you can get up there and clip those flowers, you've got some seriously powerful stuff. So you have to use your own head and look around and figure it out. And when you do, you'll see that it's everywhere. And the power of it is unbelievable.
I'm a fan of birch beer and making maple syrup. In your recent interview, along with Healing Energies of Dew, you described mistletoe, and very briefly, I think it was brown sap from oak trees. And as an important note, I'm a bit worried about concentrating trail fallout from dew. Could tree sap be used as a filtered substitute? And can you elaborate on mistletoe and oak tree sap?
Well, it's oak trees are really do have to be the most interesting of all trees. And what oak trees, and there's other trees that do this too, but what oak trees do is they have they act like, especially the older they get, they act like a gigantic lung, and they pump water up, and they breathe it. So they breathe it, and they pull it all the way up into their upper branches, and not just a little bit of water. You get a big, huge oak tree, and it will be filled with hundreds of gallons of water that are being pumped up and down through it all day and night. And this is very interesting. And the mistletoe that grows in the upper branches, especially of big oak tree, that mistletoe is got various qualities. The berries have one kind of quality, the leaves have another kind of quality, and you got to be careful because some of it's toxic. Another thing about mistletoe is that it contains large amounts of dimethyltryptamine, so you have to be careful about how you take it. If you take it as a tincture, you'll be all right. But if you take it as and if you accidentally breathe the fumes of mistletoe while you're trying to create salts from it, you could get very, very, very high very quickly, and it may not be a good thing for you, especially around a flame. So, got to be careful with it. It's got huge potential, though, and you don't even really have to go very far with this because Rudolf Steiner, I think there's a Steiner company, you can get it on the internet. It's called Iscador. Iscador, I think is how they spell it. Iscador. It is a derivative of mistletoe. Susan Summers used it, reversed her breast cancer. I know a lot of people who've reversed cancers with Iscador. So you don't even have to make it. You can get it. It's really good stuff. And again, it's just a branch of alchemy, a druid branch of alchemy in poor old Ireland, where there was nothing growing because it's so cold all the time and raining. The alchemists, were forced to look for the stone in odd places, and they looked up into them, and they realized that they could get it also from the mistletoe. It's generally a vegetable matter that you'll get the stone from, or the dew. You can also get the stone, though, from metals, but that's a very complex, long, involved process, and you really don't want to take tinctures that are made from metals, so I don't recommend them. But you can change the frequency of metals so that they transmute. And this stuff, in the right form, in its red form, it goes through colors as you distill and sublimate it. When it gets into its red form, it can actually transmute metals, and that's another whole subject. Because we're really not after that. We don't want to cause any economic problems. We're only after the medicine here and living a long life and gnosis, the agreement that we all have to have that we can look into anything and explore anything in an open way. That's the Gnostic creed, and without that, we're not going to survive either. So we have a lot of problems right now in the world, and the faster that all of us start acting in an alchemical way, the faster the change can happen. Out of the fixed set world of the Iron Age, through the flames of revolution, we can fly underneath the radar and show a different place, and the elixirs can be made, and the science can be returned.
Well, real quickly, Jay, and I'll finish up. Can you comment on the power of the observer, or what I've heard as an alchemical requirement that you have to be a believer and collect your own dew for it to be effective? Does that make sense?
It certainly does. It's a whole meditation. It's a life. it has to be taken seriously. You have to do your qigong or your yoga, and you have to meditate, and you have to fixate on what in your own head what you want from this, and you and this thing becomes you. That's the you read the writings of Hermes, and he says only like can become like. Only a dog can create a dog. Only a human can create a human. Well, this thing is the progenitor of all things. It's the source of all creation. It is, when it marries Mother Earth, you are created. And so when you trap it and when you concentrate it, well, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable, and it on its own, just by doing it, you will not only be changed, but you will change the world around you, because there's an effect field that comes around it, which seems to change the texture of reality. It gets very strange.
Okay, Lauren, I believe you have a question for Jay.
Yes, Jay, you were the person by whom I was first made aware of the film The Fountain, and this beautiful meditation on death with Mayan mythology mixed in shows the importance of the dying process to the ultimate evolution of the soul. If death is the road to awe, or as your own film suggests, the ultimate trip, how do you reconcile this with dew collecting alchemy as a life extension technology? Even if we were in the Satya Yuga, why would we desire a retardation of spiritual growth by prolonging death?
I found The Fountain to be a great film. I do kind of disagree with actually that part of it, and it's not that you are stopping the advancement. What you're doing is that in a Gnostic sense, your voyage to this reality is based and will be completed by how much you understand this reality. And when you fully comprehend this reality, you no longer have to come back to this reality, and you can move up the ladder into a different dimensional space. And that's the voyage of the soul as it regroups back towards the original light at the center of creation. And so, the Gnostic finds the interruption and the loss of memory between lifetimes to be an irritant. And so the alchemist seeks to try to gather as much knowledge as possible in the span of time that he has in this life, so that he can jumpstart, or she can jumpstart and past another lifetime here. That's a great answer. Thank you, Jay.
Sandra, I believe